שגם יש עוד לא מעט אנשים שרצו לצפות פה בהקלטה. אז הנה, טוב, הרבה מצטרפים אלינו עכשיו, אז זה היה שווה לחכות. אז ממש עוד כמה רגעים אנחנו נתחיל. אני אקדים ואגיד שכמו בכל הוובינרים שלנו, לא יודע מי מכם מצטרף אלינו לקודמים או לא, אז זה בעצם יותר שיחה. אנחנו רוצים גם לשמוע את מה שיש לכם להגיד ומה שיש לכם לשאול, ואני מקווה מאוד שבאתם מוכנים ככה עם מחברת ועט, כי הולכים להיות פה המון דברים מאוד מעניינים. עבדנו מאוד קשה כדי שהוובינר הזה יהיה איכותי ומשמעותי עבור חברי הקהילה שמתעניינים גם בתחום הזה, וזה מעניין לא מעט אנשים, אני שמח לראות. אז באמת תרגישו הכי בנוח ופשוט לשאול שאלות, אנחנו נעצור בכמה חלקים לאורך הוובינר, ובאמת בסוף ההצגה של המומחים שלנו, אנחנו גם ממש נקיים פאנל שאלות ותשובות ככה קצת יותר מאוחר. אני אתחיל, so if you don't mind everyone, I'm going to start right now. I believe more people are coming, so I think I'm going to start. אז שלום, נמצאים איתנו לא מעט אנשים, וגם מרלן, היי מרלן, מיקאלה, היי מיקאלה, ואסף חברנו, שבעצם...
היי אסף, שלום.
אהלן, שאנחנו בעצם כולנו נעביר את הוובינר הזה ביחד. יש פה כמה חלקים שאני מאמין שיעניינו את רובכם, והנה מצטרף אלינו גם בועז היקר. ובעצם הוובינר הזה הוא חלק מסדרת הוובינרים שלנו שנקראת ישראלים ופורטוגל, באמת על המון תחומים שכיסינו עד היום, וככה כל פעם אנחנו מוצאים עוד תחום שזקוק למענה קצת יותר נקודתי ואיכותי, וזאת המטרה של גם מה שאנחנו עושים כאן היום. אז בעצם אחד מהחלומות של הישראלים בפורטוגל הוא איזשהו פרויקט עם אוריינטציה סביבתית, ואז נשאלת השאלה, אוקיי, אז איך אנחנו מקימים את זה, איך אנחנו נעזרים במימון, האם יש מקורות מימון שהם יותר ציבוריים, פתוחים, איך עומדים בכל הבקשות והקריטריונים והסטנדרטים, ובאמת זה מה שניסינו ככה לעשות בו סדר עכשיו. אני יכול להגיד לכם שבאופן אישי, התחום הזה, הסביבתי, הוא משהו שהוא קרוב אליי באופן אישי מאוד ללב, ורציתי לקחת את זה צעד אחד קדימה, נגענו בזה בכל מיני צורות בוובינרים אחרים, אבל היום ככה אסף הרים את הכפפה, ואני שמח מאוד שאנחנו הולכים עם זה קדימה. אז ככה מי שאולי קצת פחות מכיר, זה בעצם הדרך שבה אנחנו בונים את הוובינר, ניתן פה איזה מבוא קצר עבור מי שאולי קצת פחות מכיר, אבל לאיזושהי מטרה של אישור קו, אני נוטה להאמין שרוב מי שנמצא איתנו כאן היום, דווקא יותר מכיר וקצת אפילו עמוק בתוך הנושא הזה. מיד לאחר מכן ניכנס להעמקה קצת יותר משמעותית, ובעצם זה יתחלק לשני חלקים, החלק הראשון שבו מיקאלה ואסף יובילו את התחום שלהם, שזה בעצם הדרך הנכונה לתכנן בכלל, לגשת לעולם הזה מבחינת האוריינטציה הסביבתית שיש לפרויקט שלכם, ואז מרלן תעמיק יותר בחלק המימוני שלו, ובאיך נעזרים בכל מיני תוכניות ותמריצים שיש באיחוד האירופי ובפורטוגל בפרט. ומשם אנחנו נזמין אתכם באמת ליצור קשר עם הצוות היקר הזה, וכמובן נענה לשאלות, אז מוזמנים גם לאסוף שאלות, וגם פשוט לכתוב אותם בצ'אט. אני מאמין הנה נועם כבר איתנו, נועם אתה מוזמן להגיד שלום, שככה ניקח גם את השאלות מכולכם במהלך הוובינר, ואם צריך נועם, אז גם פשוט נעצור לרגע ונתעמק במשהו, אם זה באמת משמעותי. באמת המטרה שלנו היא פה לייצר איזשהו שיח, אז אתם מוזמנים לכתוב בצ'אט למה הצטרפתם אלינו, ומה הכי מעניין אתכם באמת, אם זה בהיבטים של הצרכים הפרטיים שלכם, מבחינת הפרויקטים הפרטיים, זה הטבות אישיות או תמריצים לפרויקטים שאתם רוצים ליצור, אם זה חלק מפעילות עסקית קצת יותר משמעותית, סביר מאוד להניח שמתלווה לזה איזשהו חלום, אנחנו יודעים שזה קורה לא מעט, אז גם את זה אנחנו רוצים לשמוע, כי לפעמים זה לא פחות חשוב מהפרקטיקה של הדברים, ובאופן כללי, אני חושב שאנחנו ניגע פה בעוד כל מיני, נקרא לזה היבטי צעד, שקשורים למיסוי אולי, איזה סוג פעילות עסקית נכון לרתום לעניין הזה, ואני חושב שיש לנו פה שילוב של כמה מוחות שיכולים להיות מספיק יצירתיים כדי לנסות לפתור את זה, ולקחת אתכם צעד קדימה. אז קצת עליי, אפילו לא הצגתי את עצמי, אני אסף אייזנקוט, אני שותף מייסד בבורטוקלה, יחד עם שותפי היקר נועם פרץ, שנמצא פה איתנו. נועם, אתה יכול לפתוח את המצלמה אולי?
כמובן, שלום לכולם.
אהלן אהלן, ואנחנו באמת השקנו מחדש לפני כמה חודשים את פורטל בורטוקלה, ובעצם אחד מהדברים שאנחנו עושים בצורה מאוד עקבית ככה, אני רוצה להגיד, זה הקיום של האירועים האלה, הנגשה של המון המון מידע ושל נותני שירות איכותיים, שככה לוקחים את הפעילות העסקית של כל הקהילה צעד אחד, או יותר נכון 5,000 צעדים קדימה, אם אני יכול להיות צנוע, ואנחנו באמת רוצים להזמין את כולם להשתתף, זאת אומרת, יש לכם איזה נושא מעניין, רעיון ייחודי, הזדמנות עסקית, you name it, אנחנו באמת באמת רוצים, זה מה שנקרא פלטפורמת open source, כל מה שתביאו, אנחנו ננסה להקל ביחד ולתת לכם את האפשרות להוציא את זה קדימה, להוציא את זה החוצה ולקחת את זה קדימה כמה שאפשר, אז אני ממש 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 מזמין אתכם, ונועם תכף גם ישים בצ'אט את הלינק, אולי כבר שמת, אני לא יודע.
עדיין לא, עכשיו אני אעשה.
להצטרף לקהילה שלנו, יש בזמן האחרון עוד ועוד חברי קהילה שהצטרפו, אתם גם יכולים ככה לסרוק את ה-QR הנחמד הזה, וגם פשוט להצטרף אלינו, ושיהיה לכם פרופיל, ותתחילו לעשות נטוורקינג, ותנגישו את האפשרויות ואת הדברים שמעניינים אתכם. נקפוץ ישר למים, ואני יודע שבאמת, כולכם מגיעים לפה מזוויות כל כך שונות, סקיילים באמת שונים אחד מהשני, אזורים גיאוגרפיים שונים, רקע מקצועי שונה, יש פה איזו מטרה גם לעשות קצת יישור קו בנוגע לכל התחום האפור הזה של מה שקורה בעניין הזה של מה זה בכלל אולי עסקים ירוקים בפורטוגל, על מה צריך להסתכל, האם זה שונה ממקומות אחרים, וגם, כן, איך לוקחים את זה צעד אחד קדימה מבחינת המימון. ננסה לענות על כמה שאפשר תוך כדי. ובאמת, הקושי בהבנה של התחום הזה נובע מכל מיני דברים, כמו הרבה מאוד דברים טובים ופחות טובים אולי בפורטוגל, יש הרבה חוסר סינכרון ואולי חוסר אחידות בין אנשי המקצוע, זה לא כל כך קונסיסטנטי, ואנחנו מנסים כן לייצר איזושהי שפה משותפת, גם בהיבט המקצועי וגם בהיבט התרבותי, שאנחנו מגיעים ממנו אולי בפערי מושגים וכאלה, שזה גם לפעמים קצת מבלבל, אנחנו מדברים על כל מיני מושגים עם ראשי תיבות גזית שהרבה פעמים מבלבלים, חלקם דומים לדברים מסוג, מעולמות הנדל"ן שהרבה מכירים, וחלקם לוקחים אותם למקומות אחרים יותר סביבתיים, ובאנו קצת ליישר פה איזשהו קו בהיבט הזה. וגם יש באמת המון אפשרויות, ואני חושב שכל פעם שאני רואה לפחות איזשהו יזם או בעל חלום, נקרא לזה, שרוצה לקחת את הפרויקט שלו קדימה, תמיד נתקעים באיזשהו שלב של שאלות מאוד בסיסיות, והמחקר שקל לעשות ברשתות, לפעמים רק יותר מבלבל מאשר באמת עוזר. ונתקלתי בדבר הזה הרבה פעמים, אני חושב שאסף, תקן אותי אם אני טועה, נראה לי שגם אתם נתקלים בזה הרבה פעמים. אז קצת באמת המטרה היא לייצר איזושהי בהירות, וגם להסביר את האפשרויות בכלל בכל אחד מהדברים. אז באמת באנו לפה קצת להנגיש קצת מידע יותר איכותי ומסודר, לייצר רצף של השלבים שצריך לעשות. מיכאלה ואסף ידברו באמת על השלב הראשון יותר, שבאמת יותר בהיבטים התפיסתיים של הפרויקט, קצת איך להתייחס אליו בכלל, וגם נצייר איזה מפת דרכים כזאת, ממש ליטרלי תהיה פה מפת דרכים של איך נכון להתייחס לזה, וגם עד הפתרונות הפרקטיים של ממש להגיש את הבקשה לאיחוד האירופאי וכל מיני עניינים מהסוג הזה. באמת, ובסופו של דבר העניין הוא הגדלת סיכויי ההצלחה שלכם, אז אני מזמין אתכם להתיישב אחורה, אולי לקחת איזה כוס יין ודף ועט, ואני חושב שאנחנו נצא לדרך. אז מיכאלה and אסף, you're more than welcome to open your microphones. החלק הזה של הוובינר, וכמובן גם החלק של מרלן, יהיו באנגלית. אנחנו ננסה כמה שאפשר להנגיש את המידע ולעזור, ושיהיה לכולם בהצלחה ותהנו.
Thank you, Asaf, for the intro. Hi, Michaela. Hi, Marlene, and everyone. Shalom tov liot be'achad. Let's start. I'm excited.
Yeah, okay. So hello, everyone. I will speak English. It's so good to be here with you all. It's really exciting. And so my name is Michaela Hein, and I'm from Sweden. And I've been working with Asaf for the last maybe 15 years with inner sustainability for global change, so supporting inner capacities. But in my role here today, we're actually going to talk about the parallel thing we are working with, and that is supporting businesses with their sustainable business development to really find that sweet spot and wins between increased sustainability and increased profit. And this is really a passion for us both. So it's great to be here with you. And so I work for myself, and I have different collaborations, for example, with Asaf and also other companies. I'm also a chief sustainability officer in part-time. It's actually possible for a large Swedish food company, which is great. I get like an insight in the whole food industry in Europe. So that's exciting if you have any questions around that. But I also support companies in all other areas like construction industry, entertainment, books, and just many different areas. So yes, I think that's, I leave over to Asaf.
Thanks, Michaela. Yeah, like Michaela shared, this is a shared passion, and something that has been with me my entire life. And more specifically, I was more involved in the last 15 plus years in the community organizing around impact, creating positive impact and change, building communities and traveling all over the world and making change. And in the last few years, very focused on the sustainability aspect. And all, when we speak about sustainability, it has so many layers and so many aspects. And here we try to, find the most relevant information that would bring us closer to our goals and wishes.
I hope I didn't bounce too fast. You just guided
you did,
me, right?
but all is well. We are in a conversation.
Okay.
So my background is like I'm a co-founder with Michaela and two other colleagues in the field of inner sustainability and coaching, sustainability consultant for businesses and projects, and my background is in operation leadership. So we can move on. I moved to Portugal around 10 months ago in Costa de Caparica. Okay, so when we speak about businesses for sustainable world and future, just to give here we can stay a moment, Asaf, so much has changed, in the perspective of what is a business, where we think about 80s, 90s, beginning 2000s, it's all about making profit, and with few exceptions of companies here and there choosing to do some good and supporting society. But what's happening now, and specifically in the European Union, is that through the Green Deal that has such ambitious goals to become the first climate neutral continent in the world by 2050, so many rules, regulations have come into force and are coming into force to really shift businesses from just for the sake of profit, but also taking it into the field of, social, environmental, of course, and growth in a sustainable way. So it's really amazing to see how much has changed. And also recently with the elections in the EU, if you follow, even though it moved a bit more to the right, still the commitments to sustainable development stay right on course, and strong commitments to that.
Yeah, and I would just like to add something around that in terms of what you see here now also. I like to think about it in terms of businesses as a tsunami. Like it's really like this huge wave coming into over Europe, and for as a business, you need to make a decision. Do you want to drown or do you want to surf? That's like, it's actually those, and surf is wonderful. It's exciting, it's inspiring, and drown obviously is not. So, and that's really where the business is at this moment, and it's really important. It doesn't matter if you're a small startup or if you're a big business, to really just get the full depth of that. And I love supporting companies in doing what we wrote here, in creating unique products and services that are also a full expression of a sustainable, a core sustainable business. When it's really rooted at the core of the business, where new innovation, new segments just naturally kind of flourish from that, and wherever the whole workplace is really engaged in creating that kind of innovation. And that's what I see all the time now with my clients, and that's just so exciting. I cannot enough tell you how the big difference that has been like the last 5 years. The last 5 years ago it was maybe like, okay, yeah, we need to do this, for the sake of profit. Now it's like I meet CEOs all the time that just feel so inspired, like they want to do this, and they talk about their grandchildren or whatever. But yeah, we can move on.
Right. So just a few points of why exactly to focus on that. And again, maybe completely obvious to many of you, but just as Asaf said, we are setting the surface for clarity. So from the most basic thing is doing what is right now and for the future generations. Doing things in the old ways, we see the results of that, climate crisis and other things, and just deciding from the very start, like we started a business here, a small micro business, but the principles that we will speak about are completely in the core of the business. That's how we want to grow. Sustainable businesses, they earn more, and that's by many research publications show that it's not just, okay, we do what is right, but actually it supports the businesses also financially if it's core in the strategy. And there's greater demand. You can see it in the younger generations. They check and they are more curious about it. They're more dedicated to environmental and social causes. So that also impacts. And like Michaela said, with the tsunami, so one of them is increased regulation and reporting in the EU, like the corporate sustainability reporting that requires company to disclose not just the financial, like we are used to see, activity, but also the social and environmental, and it's very, very specific. And of course, large entities, it's different, but still, we will speak about it later. The role of SMEs being around, if I'm not mistaken, over 90% in the EU businesses, they have a great role in that as well. And by understanding all of this large and massive topic, it also supports to understand, okay, what are the risks that we are dealing with and how to manage them better, and also seize on the opportunities related to sustainable topics. And this is Marlene's point, where she will dive into that with great expertise. It's the large funding opportunities that are available right now in the EU, and specifically also as we're speaking in Portugal. When we look at, our map is messed up. We had a beautiful map. Oh, okay, Asaf. Okay. The sustainability journey. This is more as an illustration what we want to share with you in more detail, but just like how we go from point A to point to being a sustainable business. And we looked at the assessment of current state, sustainability strategy, action plans, and goals, embedding the business sustainability in the organization, and that's a massive change. Constantly monitoring, innovating, and reporting, and change management, communication, and commitment. But we will look into the details here. And like, if there are any questions or anything, please alert us. We will respond. So first of all, where are we? Whether you're just starting, considering an idea, already in full operation, where are we in terms of the sustainability aspects of our work, and where do we need to go? Need in terms of regulations, need in terms of our wishes and aspirations for a better world and business creation. So we analyze that and create this specific map, and then develop based on that the strategy, action plans, and goals. This is essential to create that, so we know where we go, and embedding the sustainability in the business. When this is in the core, for example, what are the climate goals, how we apply the sustainability reporting and framework, and constantly educating oneself with all the many updates and news in this, and innovation in the topic. Michaela, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I thought I could just share an example. I was with this food company that I'm also Chief Sustainability Officer for at the moment. We did this journey, and it was just such an incredible transformation they went through, and that really it was incredible how they're large food companies, and their customers are the biggest food companies in Sweden, and to just see after the process and during the process how they reacted to my client's process. It was just incredible. They're like, the CEO I work so close with, he was just shocked to see that. And it all started with doing this assessment. It was in the assessment we went through the whole value chain, looking at where do we have our positive and negative impact, in the raw material, in the transport, labor, everything. And it could be anything from climate change, biodiversity, since it's food, water usage, anything. And then I also made a thorough stakeholder. I can really recommend this if you're new started company or whatever size you are. Actually, this is so crucial, a stakeholder dialogue as part of this assessment. This is so important, and people think sometimes, oh, it sounds so boring, but this is where the juice is. This is where the profit starts, the trust. So I actually interviewed all their biggest clients, the companies. I interviewed their chief sustainability officers to hear. I wanted them to share what their ambitions were. What did they expect from us? And actually what came through there was just so many new things that my CEO didn't even know. And from that, we could start building a whole new relationship. And actually, then we made sure that the part 2 here, develop a sustainability strategy. This was actually just, us saying, we have delivered, the strategy of your dreams, because we wanted our customers, the big food companies, to see our strategy and think, oh, this is completely in level or even better with our own plans, with our own sustainability work, which make their work so easy. So it was really like they could just, the goal was for for the biggest food companies in Sweden to look at the strategy and feel at home, you know, like, okay, you're doing the work, great, then we can relax a bit more and focus. So it was just so incredible. And from there on, they started to develop new segments, innovate new, completely new segments. So they went to the food companies and said, are you interested? And they were like, yes, and we want to be like solo, you know, please only sell to us. And this all occurred. I don't know the English. Sorry.
Past or present.
After like a year, you know, it was also, everything was so quick. Well, I bet it took about a year. This is a big company, but, you know, just to share how it all went from then, you know, really don't knowing anything about their sustainability goals, doing a bit of that. I'm sure maybe you can recognize yourself in, you know, maybe I do some, you know, energy savings, maybe I have green energy, maybe I do, you know, look at this kind of scattered topics, but not the full power of a strategy. And everyone knows what a strategy is, you know, it's the full power ahead. You know, I know where we're going and I know how to get there. That's the power of a strategy. And that's where it ended up with the biggest food companies in Sweden really happy, you know, like with what they have created. So I just wanted to emphasize that, you know, that like the complete fun and you know, when you see the profit coming in and yes, the happiness in everyone to work together. Now they started actually collaborate on new things together. Yeah, that was a bit of.
Sounds amazing, I must say. So I think from the business point of view, it can actually change the mindset of how people see their product and how people see their services through a different lens, you know, and it can really affect the entire way of thinking even about it.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is so true. I saw how it just went through the whole, you know, in terms of change management. In the beginning, they were like, okay, you know, maybe, you know, what should we do? We do, you know, the smallest possible, you know, and in the end, you know, the CEO is talking like they have these incredible visions, and all the colleagues, you know, in all the different, in the whole management team as well is, you know, in the whole organization, people work with this now. So I can completely agree with you, Asaf. It's just.
I believe actually that most of our guests here today already have the idea and actually have the will to somehow integrate these ways of thinking into their businesses. And I would really love on other people's behalf to understand like the bits and the bytes of what is actually important to know. I know that we're going to get there, but you know, keep it in mind. Let's take this into the next topics.
Yeah. So. But so then again, I just want to emphasize that if you're going to do this, you already want to do it. And then really the first step is really to do that full assessment. You know, you can't like skip it. You know, you have to do a proper stakeholder dialogue, and to be very concrete, it's all about sending out, you know, Google Forms or doing the interviews. I would say the interviews like with central people is really important. Really, the stakeholder dialogue is a gold mine. You cannot skip that part to really, because, you know, that's how you lift your whole work too, because you want to meet up their expectations of imaginable customers, right? And then the value chain assessment, that's really important. If you're small or big, it doesn't matter, but you need to be in full control of the positive and negative impact of your value chain. And once you have done these things and you actually start creating the strategy, and we used to have a platform where the companies did this themselves with support of us, and then it was basically a form, you know, like to fill in, to just get the work going, and then to make the strategy, and then starting to communicate it, be really good at communicating where you're at, what you want, and really communicating the vision and mission of your sustainability work. So, but can you maybe, Asaf, just clarify exactly what it is? Is that what you had in mind when you said?
I think we're on the right path.
Okay,
That's okay.
good. Because it's also, like this is a long topic, but you feel free to invite us any other time if we have another hour. But so it's just like a bite, But yeah.
Yeah.
So the number 4 here is about monitoring and innovating reports. So, to just be constant, it's so important. There is so much going on in the sustainability world. So, there is a saying in Swedish, Sweden, you keep the ear on the train rail, like just being constant awareness of what's going on in the world and adjusting your sustainability work. And this requires quite something, but it's so much more fun when you feel completely integrated in societal change. So knowing what's happening in laws and regulations, but also in the markets, and changes in values, like Gen Z, they're changing all the, with the changed set of values, they now demand new things, new products, new places to work. And so just knowing, and then once you have the strategy, you work with that a year, and then after a year you adjust it. You look at the goals like you do with every other strategy, but really, and then write the reports that you can communicate with your stakeholders. But during the year, that's when the whole change management, the number 5, comes in. Working with change management in the whole organization, and that includes, education, creating cross-cultural teams, teams, between the different divisions. And if you're a small company, just making sure you use the full scope of your collected wisdom and knowledge. And always to have the innovation part, like just knowing we are in a time of incredible innovation. And Europe at the moment is innovating incredibly in terms of sustainability, but there is still so much to do. I think Sweden is regarded as like a Nordic Silicon Valley, and we have just started. So just imagine the business opportunities that lies ahead for everyone who want to do the jump.
And taking it a bit to the local and national here in Portugal. So like Michaela said, understanding the EU and inseparably from that, the Portuguese sustainability landscape and trends. So we will speak about Portugal 2030 and what does it mean and how it can apply to your business or idea or project and support you. And really seeing also, like we mentioned a few times, how it includes small and medium enterprises as well. It cannot, even if you are a very small, small business, micro business, but you're part of a larger supply chain, this will apply to you. You'll be asked questions by those bigger companies, what they want you for information and data points that they need to report on. So having it all cleared and set up is a big task, but brings great clarity to every aspect of the business. And consider potential alignment with the Portugal 2030 goals. There's a typo there. So this will...
Yeah, it says 2023, but it's 2030, yeah.
So, all good. Okay.
Yeah, and before I continue here, I'm going to go through, I think it's 7 outcomes, just to check if there are any questions and if something you would like me to address.
So for now, in the chat, there's a very specific questions about a solar panel business that Itzhak is developing here, but I think we can address this maybe later on the Q&A session. Itzhak, if you don't mind to wait for now, we will try to answer that later.
Anything else? If someone wants to just speak, ask.
I think for now we don't have any questions.
Okay, good. Yeah. So what I see with all the what is fun at the moment is that I'm meeting both chief sustainability officers, I'm meeting CEOs, and also board groups, and all of them are like, suddenly they have the whole European legislation in their knees, and like, okay, we have to, you know, quickly level up our sustainability work. And that's what Asaf shared about, you know, this will go down to even the smallest companies in the end, you know, because you're all part of a value chain, even though it of course will differ. I work with some of them that will report first now, and I can tell you they are sweaty. It's like the legislation is just so powerful, you could say. But some outcomes, you know, when you work with strategically with sustainability, and that's really what I want you to take with you, to never just rush into the activities, because that's always more appealing, you know, like do this project, or just take the time to really root yourself in your strategy. It will be so rewarding. And what I've seen with many companies I worked with is that they increase profitability, both in terms of increasing just profit, but also in terms of reducing costs, because there is just so many inefficiencies along the way. It can be like how they use energy or other materials or labor, but like when you start, that's the whole thing I love with sustainability, that it's social, ecological, and economical sustainability we're talking about. And I see so much cost reductions along the way. And of course, expanding beneficial impact. And who doesn't want to do that in this world we live, you know, especially when just knowing you do it together with millions and billions of people around the world. And this is a way to make you also so relevant. Like just think about, like, what kind of voice do my company want to have in the surrounding world? You know, in my community, in the region I live. What kind of voice, what kind of storytelling do we want to have? And so this is your opportunity to really mean something. And minimize business risks. This is just so crucial, I would say. You know, like during the processes I've been in, we have been able to just tick off so many risks just in the process of doing the assessment, like risks that were just, you know, like that was quite a shock for a few of them. You know, they hadn't even considered it. It can be risk relating to legislation, or actually lack of water. You know, in many European countries, lack of water is already a case, but in Sweden it's kind of slowly creeping on us. So there are many business risks actually that is being seen in the process of working strategically with sustainability. And also, very important thing, yes, the risk of not being able to attract and retain talent. I don't know, have you heard the word climate quitters? That's actually a word now. And I'm coaching another sustainability officer for one of Sweden's largest company, and they are everywhere in the world, and they see the same thing everywhere. People actually, they leave the company because they are not happy with their climate work. They say they have ambitions, but they can't see it. And this is a generation that is they won't take it. So they actually leave. So this is now high up on the agenda because it's becoming a business risk, you know, like really attractive talents just leave the company. But to turn this on, to say if you're a smaller company and to actually create a workplace where you work with this fully, is also to attract really interesting people to your business. So, you know, it's both sides. Yeah, you can take the next slide. And then that's my favorite part of it, you know, the exceed stakeholder demands. You know, you already heard me talk about it so much, but it's such an easy thing, you could say, to create more profit and to increase sustainability in general, to just be completely on top of your stakeholders. What do they expect from you? And just give it, but more. You know, be even more brilliant, you could say. But it demands an honest conversation, you know, and listening openly. I usually also ask, you know, about, do you have any trends in your organization? Like, do you see any like future goals coming in? And one time that actually meant that I heard that they had this huge climate initiative coming in, which we could then relate to in our strategy. which make my client, the food company, like just much more stronger. So just again, being in contact with your stakeholders, and that's of course it's a bigger group. You need to check on who's your stakeholders, you know, that matters to you. And yeah, and if you're a smaller company, I would really suggest starting working with sustainability in a strategic way, because then when you grow sustainably. And that's the beauty. It's much harder. And I know, because I've supported quite a few startups, I know it's, you know, time is limited, resources limited. But if you have any ambitions in this area, just do it from scratch. It will be so much easier when you scale up. And it will also support you in terms of profit. So, and integrate and anchor sustainability. This is just, you know, you have to shift from sustainability only being run by a few people in the company. And I've seen this as a problem both in startups, you know, with passionate CEOs, founders, and also in larger company where it's usually a chief sustainability officer or someone else. But you can only do so much as one person, and you really need to get the whole organization on board. And that involves, you know, processes, strengthening leadership. I coach leaders of all kinds in this because it's not so easy, you know. So it's nice to have someone to just check in with, and avoid greenwashing and green hushing. I don't know. Have you heard the word green hushing? Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that it's such a good word, because for a long time it's been like, don't greenwash, don't say you do more than you do. And I think that's super important, of course. But actually, for my companies, the one I work with, they have a larger problems with green hushing. One big forest company in Sweden, they didn't even want to raise their hands in conferences because they were just kind of afraid of getting, you know, like they didn't know about the sustainability work, so they were afraid to, you know, even show up. And I was just like, this is the worst way to just kill your company and the whole spirit. Are you so afraid to raise your hand? You know, you have to back, you know, take 10 steps back and start from the beginning. And that's where that's actually that's the sole reason why they started with the sustainability strategy, because no one knew what to say, you know, when they met other people. So definitely integrate and anchor. You know, everyone should be a happy ambassador for your sustainability work. You know, that's what you start your mornings with when you meet your team. You know, how can we be happy ambassadors and knowledgeable ambassadors? And so yeah, no green hushing, because then you won't get the profit and rewards from your work. And build competence and knowledge. Just continue, you know, a bit by bit. Don't stress yourself out, but like this month I learned about this or that, you know, like for example, now in the EU, I can just tell you what you need to learn about. You need to learn about climate, of course, climate emission and biodiversity, water usage. You need to learn about circular economy, because circular economy action plan is more and more coming in the whole of Europe and all businesses. So these are the things, you know, just taking one thing at a time and just, you know, familiarize yourself with them so that it becomes your strength. And again, not your drowning experience in the tsunami.
All right. So I think it was a very good intro. Thank you so much. תודה רבה. And I will switch to Hebrew if you don't mind. חברים, מעוניינים ככה להיכנס בצורה קצת יותר חלקה להקמה של העסק, או באמת להטמעה של תהליכים אסטרטגיים קצת יותר משמעותיים. אני יודע שחלקכם פה כן מסתכלים על זה בצורה קצת יותר רחבה, וזה משהו שאמור ככה להיות שזור בכל המרכיבים העסקיים שלכם. לא מעט מכם דיברו איתי אפילו היום, אז אני חושב שזה ממש 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 חשוב, ואסף ומיכאלה מאוד מאוד ישמחו לעזור לכם בזה, גם בהיבטים הקצת יותר מתקדמים של זה, שבאמת לקחת את העניינים האלה צד אחד קדימה, ולא רק לתכנן, אלא גם באמת להטמיע. אז גם כאן אתם מוזמנים לפנות אליהם, ונועם, אם אתה יכול גם לשים את הלינק לפנייה בצ'אט. אם אתם רוצים, אנחנו יכולים ממש 2 דקות, אם יש לכם שאלות ככה ממש קצרות, ואם לא, אנחנו נמשיך כבר לשלב הבא של מרלן. יש איזו שאלה כרגע, או שאנחנו נמשיך? אוקיי, אז לדעתי אנחנו ממשיכים. So, Marlene, I think it's your part now. I think most people were waiting for this part, because I know it's kind of tricky for many people. So, it's all yours.
Yes, thank you. So, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you and for the opportunity to talk about the potential of Portugal 2030. So Lisboa Investments help. Basically, I'm a founder of Lisboa Investments, and we help companies to raise money between public funds and private funds. But today I will focus on public funds, grant opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Can you split? Yeah. So Portugal 2030 has 23 billion euros to support companies and the Portuguese economy, special for the next 5 years. And by April 2025, it will invest 4.5 billion euros in grants, so which is a substantial amount of money, and companies should take of it, of course.
Marlene, I think we're losing you from time to time, like breaking out. So I think if you are able to switch off your camera, at least for a few minutes, so we can maybe wouldn't lose you.
Okay, I will try.
Let's try.
Let's try.
All right. So yeah, let's continue.
So choose to talk about 4 measures from the fund, Portugal 2030, that cover most activities and encompass several types of investments. But, however, the more measures will be introduced in the coming months. So, but today I will focus on these 4 measures. The first measure is support for research. The second, support for export of products or service. The third measure is support for production of internationally marketable products or service. And the fourth measure is support for creation or expansion of companies, special technology related. So the first, R&D incentive system. This measure, the idea of this and the Portugal 2023 aims to provide financial support to companies looking to develop, and I bring some examples here, like disruptive technology platforms or artificial intelligence systems for process automation, but other artificial intelligence or creation of industrial robots for production lines or applications of IoT in the tourism sector and so on. So possibilities to this kind of measure, but they need to be very innovative. Okay. So the second, what can be financed? I bring the main topics can be financing to this measure. The first one is expense for technical staff of the activities. So it's important, we can put all the salaries of workers that are focused on like develop platform, as I say, or other technological platform. So all these kind of salaries, they are eligible, and for 24 months. So we are talking about a huge incentive for, and the limit support can be up to 80%, especially if the companies are based outside of Lisbon, like in the north or in the center of Portugal. Will be better for raise money for this kind of measure. What can be more financed, like acquisition of patents, acquisition of service, like technical assistance, acquisition of scientific or technical instruments and equipments, expenses related to the promotion and dissemination of the project's results. So like going to the other countries and explain the platform and show the platform is eligible. Travel and stay abroad directly attributable to the project. So this kind of expense is eligible for this measure.
Marlene, sometimes we are losing you because of maybe, I don't know, interruptions on the microphone. So I suggest maybe let's try to be to summarize every type of measure, and then we can wait for questions, not to like go one by one. Does that make sense?
I will try.
Okay.
Okay. So this measure, internationalization of, it's important for companies that aim to expand their products or service to the other countries. What can be financing? Presence of international trade fairs is the main expense of this kind of measure, but also marketing, digital marketing campaigns, digital campaigns, acquisition of equipment and software direct related to the investment project, creation of and the registration of brands. This is the main expenses of this kind of measure, and the grant support is 50%. So the other measure is productive innovation. These kind of measure are more focused to financing like infrastructure, creation or expansion of a hotel, eco resort, eco glamping, restaurant. Of course, they need to have be a innovative restaurant with a concept different.
Marlene, I just want to, for instance, if you don't mind, I want to stop you. I know that this part is mainly interesting for many of the people that we know that started with their project. Usually they bought some sort of property, either a factory or some sort of real estate or a land or something like that. And they want to create these kind of eco glamping resort, some sort of restaurant or hotel, something in the accommodation field or tourism. And I think if you can actually also give us maybe good examples for processes like this, what are the best approaches or anything like that, maybe, and I invite you, everyone, to open your microphone and we can stay a little bit longer on this topic, which I know that is mostly relevant for everyone.
Okay, I bring some two examples I will show after this topic, but we can discuss better after this presentation. So what can be financed of this measure? Mainly construction of the building or renovation of a lot of millions here, and acquisition of machinery, equipment, registration of trademarks, and so on. The limit is 40% for the equipment, but for the construction building is 60%. And this is like a global measure, but for example, if the project can be much more, the percentage.
Marlene, can you repeat this part? If the project is what? We lost you there.
Okay. If the project will be in the Alentejo, like interior of Portugal, the percentage can be much more, like 70%.
So basically, higher priority areas will be funded better.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I bring two examples that we are developed now. One of them is the artistic residence in the central region of Portugal. The total investments are 500,000, and they will apply for rehabilitation works and solar panels and charge for electric bicycles, furniture and decoration for the accommodation units, kitchen machinery and equipment, security system, brand. So this is the main expenditure that we will apply for this project.
Do you know, for instance, what was the total amount spent for this project? What was the budget?
We estimate that will be 500,000. But
no, this is this is the total investment or the total fund?
No, the total investment of the project. The fundraising, the grants will be 70%.
Okay.
And it's a grant. I mean, there is no. We don't have to return, repay, nothing. Just a grant, or we have to comply before. But do they make any monitoring going forward? They are coming to audit us. What is the relationship?
After we apply, there will be like a period of, they will analyze the project, the investment project. Usually takes like 5 months to 6 months. Sometimes can be less, but it's better to expect 5 months. And then they will pronunciate about the project. If the project will be approved, they give you 10%. After that,
What?
Marlene, we lost you.
Sorry,
they give 10%.
my internet is not good. I don't know why. So I will open here.
We lost you at 10%.
Okay, so they will pay 10% in advance, and after that, you will show the invoices, and the company that will management the project or other consultant can apply by bi-monthly payments. So we need to submit the invoices, and then they will pay 70% of the invoices.
And once they are paying, I guess we cannot give the invoices for tax deduction or something like this.
No, they don't pay they don't pay the VAT. They pay 70% without VAT.
So I think, Einat, maybe we can go
Yeah.
deeper into that a bit later, because these are very small
Specific,
details
yeah,
about,
yeah.
specific details.
Yeah. So the second project that we are doing is the Eco Hotel project in Alentejo. And the percentage of the grants is 60%. We are talking about 6 million of grants, which is a huge amount. So the eligible costs will be construction works. This is what will be one of the top sustainable eco hotels in Europe. The idea is following bioclimatic construction rules and using monolithic construction materials, CLT, and where feasible, other low carbon impact materials to energy efficiency, lighting, solar panels, furniture and decoration for the accommodations, including organic materials, kitchen machinery and equipment, and so on. So this is like the main expenses which is possible to get for this measure.
So basically, we're talking about completely different scopes of projects.
Yes.
Some of them are very big, and some of them, let's say, on the private scale, more or less.
Yes, yes.
But at least if we meet the minimum criteria, we shouldn't be afraid of a process like this.
Exactly, it is, yes. So this is the other measure. This measure will be released very soon, and it's more localized, but it's interesting as well. So this measure can be like applied to creation of innovative e-commerce platform or a marketplace, or these 3 examples that can be applied for this measure.
Just out of curiosity, and I know that some people will ask the same, is there a way to maybe qualify for more than one measure with one business?
Yes.
Okay, so that's interesting as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's possible. What can be financed with this measure? Acquisition of machinery and equipment, construction of buildings, registration of audits, costs of specialized consulting service. So here is the main expenditure to develop the marketplace or e-commerce, because we'll need to hire a IT consultant maybe. So this is the main expenses that it can be financed for this measure, and the maximum of the grants is 60%. And the
there is
maximum
one thing
support
that
is
repeats
200,000.
itself. Maximum is 200. There is
200,
one
because
thing
it's more. It's a small. It's more localized. This measure. It's more for like the beginners, and but maybe the other startups can apply to the other measures.
So I know I noticed. I don't know if others noticed, but this thing repeats itself here. Others, and it means, as far as I can tell, is that as long as you can have the right storytelling, or at least you can explain what you want, even if it's not standardized, let's say, in the applications, basically you can ask for support, correct?
Exactly. So
yeah.
Sometimes depends of the designation, can be approved or not, this specific expenditure. Yeah. But this is the main expenditures to this measure. So I bring the 5 critical for applications in Portugal 2030, And the first one is eligible and criteria. It is very important to have like all the required documents, because sometimes the consultants do and apply, but if, for example, you want to create a hotel, but if you don't have like the pre-license, you cannot apply because it's not eligible. You need to raise all the documents to apply, specific documents for the company and for the project. Okay, so if we do not have them, all the documents, it's better to wait for the next call. Okay, so number 2 is having a project aligned with the goals of Portugal 2030. So, for example, if your project, it's not innovative, it's not sustainable, and if you do not intend to expand for the other countries, it's better don't apply to Portugal 2023. Needs to be aligned with them. And the third one is prepare a business plan and financial feasibility study. It's very important, of course. And the fourth one is prepare a clear descriptive memorandum focused on the project merit criteria. There are several criteria to achieve a higher score that must be met. I give you some examples, like a job creation, if you hire more people, or if you intend hire more people, there are some measures that privilege this. You will get more score, like the score is 0 to 5. So if you hire more people, they have a scale, and we need to get 5 in all criteria, because if you have 5 or sometimes 4, definitely the measure. But we are very, we have a lot of experience, and we will tell you that if the application don't have like a higher score, we don't submit the application.
Okay, sounds good.
And the other criteria is like a business, international business volume, and there are some of them, but this is the main. And experts in the field, it's very important because it's a bureaucratic process, and the legislations are changed all the time, so it's very important to have the right partners to do this.
Thank you so much, Marlene.
Thank you.
I think that maybe this is the right time to open the microphones, and I'm sure that Marlene, Asaf, and Michaela will be happy to know more about your projects, everybody. So, of course, Marlene as well is inviting you for a free introduction meeting to understand more about your project, and Asaf and Michaela as well. I think that, of course, like we said before, there's any project that you feel that is interesting for the community, we invite you to share with us so we can discuss it next. And now this is the right time to open microphones and discuss even further. And maybe now we can address more questions that we got in the chat. So Eyal, I think many people didn't stay so far, but I think we can address it. Of course, there will be a recording of everything that we did here, and we're going to share it with everybody who registered. I think I'm going to switch to Hebrew for a second. יצחק שאל, אני יודע לבצע התקנות של מערכות סולריות, ביצעתי המון התקנות בישראל, גיבשתי סביבי אנשי מקצוע טובים בפורטוגל, יש דירקטיבה חדשה באירופה בנושא שאני מעריך שיפתח שוק גדול מאוד בתחום הקמת מערכות על גגות בפורטוגל ובאירופה בכלל. אני צריך קצה חוט שיחבר בין היכולות המקצועיות שלנו לגורמים בתחום. אסף, אתה חושב שזה משהו דווקא דרככם? זה משהו שאתם עובדים עם עניינים כאלה?
זה משהו שתודה ליצחק, אני לא יודע אם הוא פה עדיין, אבל אם הוא מקשיב להקלטה, אז זה משהו שקיבלנו שאלה דומה, נכון אסף, בעבר, ומצאנו, התחלנו לקשר עם איש קשר,
כן.
שעובד בתחום, שיכול לסייע, אז בכיף להיות בקשר, ונוכל להעביר את הפרטים הלאה, גם עם שאלות
כאלה. אז גם אם מי מכם מעוניין דווקא יותר בחיבורים עסקיים ודברים מהסוג הזה, אז באמת תרגישו בנוח לפנות אלינו במייל, ואנחנו נעשה את המיטב. אני מאמין שדווקא בחלק של המערכות הסולריות זה יהיה לא כל כך מורכב, אז אפשר לחשוב על זה. Gil Meiri is writing a question, I don't know, Gil, are you still here? I have a question regarding startups. How long does it take from sending an application and getting approved and getting funding, money in the bank? The reason I'm asking is that startups have a limited runway and it doesn't help if you get funding after your runway runs out. Marlene,
usually if we apply to the public funds, it's like 5 months, 6 months. But if we go with the business plan to a bank, it's usually depends of they have a specific lines that are supported by Portuguese government, and these specific lines takes like 2 months to approve.
Okay, so anywhere between 2 to 5, I think, Gil, maybe your case should be addressed in particular to understand a little bit better what is the right way for you. If you have any specific question, anything else, you're more than welcome to open your microphone. Einat, I saw that you already opened yours.
Yes. I heard you before, you said, if we will not make it this time, we can make it next time. What is the next time? What is the gap between? I mean, is it like it's round? I mean,
yes. Sometimes
first round, second round.
Yeah, they have like 3 calls in 1 year, or 2 calls in 1 year.
Okay, and it's going to be like this until 2030?
I'm not sure, because the government changed sometimes, but maybe at the end of the 2025, it will be this way, like 3 calls, 2 calls, depends of the measure.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's better to do a good work and to wait a little bit and not to rush it?
Yes.
To apply and to get it?
Yes.
Maybe you can also share with us a little bit more about your ideas in the project, and people can help you with developing your ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which activity is it? It's in the tourism or in the other?
I can speak about our initiative.
Okay.
We want to. We are in the process of finalizing a deal to buy a land in the area of Santarém. It's near a tourism area, but not too much. There are very few Airbnb and hotels over there. And we were thinking about we have to do everything from scratch. It's ruins, or not ruins, but it's very, very old. And we want to be able to have a sustainable business over there with solar panel. You can talk about it. Recycling water, as much
gray water, pumped water that we can take from the land. Solar panels, of course. Sustainable farming. It is in 19,000 square meter with 900 square meter of buildings that we want to do Airbnb, something like 15 units or thereabout. And actually, we were discussing these matters today.
And also the not only in the mean of the building itself, but also for the community, to hire people from the local community as much as possible, to buy from them. For example, I already have somebody to give us eggs, organic eggs, and stuff like this. I mean, we want to, as much as possible,
have a relationship with our nearby.
With the surroundings, yeah.
That's all. So I was thinking, is this innovative enough? So this is something that we can apply?
Yes, we can work on that. So if the project at this point don't are like a huge innovative, we can work on that, and including some innovative aspects. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think have a measure to apply for this project that you have. Yeah, for sure.
Great. Good news.
Sounds good. maybe אולי עוד אנשים רוצים לשאול עוד שאלות, אם יש לכם עוד איזה משהו. אם לא, אז אנחנו פשוט אולי נזמין אתכם לפנות מיד לאחר מכן, או לכתוב במייל, או פשוט ליצור איתנו קשר. יש לכם למישהו שאלה אחרונה? אלי, עינת? רוצים עוד משהו? Okay, so everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. I believe it's going to be very important for everyone to have this education in their mind for their next project. Noam, thank you for opening the camera. Hello. So have a good evening, everyone, and let's keep in touch. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will also say thank you everybody. It was very inspiring and a lot of information. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for organizing.
Thank you so much.
תודה רבה. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you.